I'm very philosophical, by the way, so you have to get through that to listen to them. The brass tacks of it is if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a target, you're not going to shoot.
It's just basically getting my foot in to understand exactly what I want to do with this if it's application building,
Build games.
I built a couple with Java.
So, well then that's good. So take the same game that you built in Java and find another language to build it in. Did you just snort? I do that too. I'm just making sure I wasn't the only one. So, see, ADD. I've managed this entire. So, take the exact same game that you've already built and find a language. So, Flutter has Flame. It's the name of their game engine. And go write it in Flame. You don't need to think about what the game needs to do at that point. You just need to learn the language. Okay. So what I do is, as funny as it sounds, I write user authentication systems over in every language that I do. You know why? I don't have to think about it anymore. And I'm not talking about OAuth and all that. I'm talking about a user registers, a user signs up, a user gets, and that's it. A user registers, a user signs in. A user registers, a user signs in. Everything that you need to do there on those two things is every part of an application from here on out. It's the same stuff over and over again. It's just in a different order. So once you do that, like that's why languages are starting to become more and more easier, starting to become more and more easy to learn, because I learned it's all the same thing. Yeah. It's literally the same thing. So if I build the same things in different languages, I'm just learning new syntax until I find one that I really like. I like Dart a lot. Dart's a great language because it can live in so many different places. Yeah, no problem. What's that? Yeah, see, and if you're comfortable and you enjoy it, then why would you change it anyways? If you love running every day, why would you stop running every day? It's called Cosmic Rays in Columbia, South Carolina. Huh? Comic book fan? Well, I also GothamForge.com is my store. Mm-hmm. Gotham Forge. I make cosplay stuff. It's down right now, I think. It's also hosted on Appwrite Cloud. No, my Mandalorian costume is a little disarray. If you want to see my costumes, you can go to Gotham Forge on Instagram too. All right, everybody all set? Yeah, get on our Discord. Our community is huge. And like I was just telling him, Appwrite.io, our Discord community is awesome. Like, not even the people that work at Appwrite, like they're a lot of ways they're better than we are. So, all right, everybody got their npm installed. Everybody got their project ID put to their file. All right, so I'm going to back up just a little bit because I messed up and told y'all, I forgot to tell y'all to do something. So he's my gauge now. Everything that turns red in his VS Code means that all of y'all are affected by his bugs. All right, so back to it. So this is a provider. This is what I call, this is my style of doing it. I'm not saying you have to. I mean, it is awesome, but you don't have to do it. So I create shortcuts. I don't like object orientation programming for hobby stuff. So I created an object and I do new database, new account. I don't want to instantiate those or create new objects all over the place. It creates memory leaks, all this stuff. It's a whole thing. It goes bad. So I create them right here because I need to create them one time. These are the most common things that I'll be using in Appwrite. The client itself, in case I need to get to the one-offs API calls, I can go right here to Appwrite, which is client. So first we're going to create our new Appwrite API client. We're going to set our endpoint and set our project, which is these two guys right here. And remember, if you have questions, interrupt me. And if you can't hear me, yell at me. And then we're going to take and React.dev. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, it explains it better than I ever could in a short amount of time. React.createContext. So we're going to create a context that's going to hold all of our state or all of our accessibles. And there we're going to pass our client into it. Now, we're not passing Appwrite. We're passing client as an object, JavaScript object into here, TypeScript, whatever you want to call it, into here. And then we're going to create a brand new React component called context.provider with the value being our client. And we'll close it off. And then we're going to create useAPI, which is our hook. Now, this is very important. This is how we get access in the entire application to Appwrite without having to create new this all the time. And then we're going to create that context, and then we're going to return, by default, we're going to return our component. Any questions? Anything at all? They're classes. Yeah. That's how I escape classes. That's how I get away from using object orientation. All right. Now, Wes, that's really cool how you set that up, but how do you put it into your application? Very lazily. So now I have one component for all the components. You get a component, and you get a component. I import them all in here. Form provider, these are just, I like pretty exports. I like pretty imports. So I do that. So API provider, I want everything inside of my application to have access to the API provider and the session provider and the settings provider. So the same thing that works, in fact, settings is a really good example because it's very simple. Now, let me jump back real quick. So this will lead itself very well into right here. So remember me telling you that in data there was a local storage or in-memory storage that I wrapped to make it like a key value store. This is it. It literally just does that. It's set key to value in the memory store. Memory store can be that. This is for memory. Scroll correctly. Whoa. All right. So this is the main thing here. So I created local storage, which is already a key value store that lives on most browsers. But guess what? Some people don't give you that permission, so I fall back to in-memory, which is just an object. Which means whenever the browser closes, it also goes bye-bye. And then I make a key value store with a fallback being a default value. And local storage, if it doesn't equal num, we're going to JSON parse it, and then otherwise we're going to return the fallback. So it's very simple. It's just a key value store based on an object. Any questions? All right. That is in data, src/data. It's the index file. Yes?
On the index file, what was children?
We'll get there. One second. So in React, whenever you see children passed in, it's all the elements. And it's the elements. It's other elements that are using it. So if I put like a text box, or text area, or even better, a paragraph tag, everything inside of that paragraph tag are children. So that's all I'm doing is passing it through. All right, so that's the basic setup for the setting. That's data. So now I can get back to this. So this is a very simple example of a provider. I create the context with default settings. Default settings comes from setting. It's just an object. It's an empty, in this case, it's just an empty thing. Set settings. So set settings, I'm going to pass in an object. It's not that smart. It's just a literal JavaScript object. I'm going to create, using useState, react.dev for more information on useState. useState, which is just the data or the values that I'm going to allow the children to access or to have access to through the hook. Data.get settings, otherwise default settings. Now remember when we looked at the data file, it had a fallback. That's what default settings is. Default settings, again, inside the settings folder is just an empty curly brace object. Now, why, Wes, did you put the underscore under set settings? Because I want to use React's set settings, but I don't want to use it because I want to do other things first. So I have my own set settings without the little guy behind it, data.set settings, so we save it to whatever data store, whether it's memory or local storage, there, and then I'll call Reacts. Now, Wes, why did you call Reacts? Things are listening. Things are happening. And so you can listen to it. You can write. If you can dive back into hooks, react.dev. We're not going to do a lot of that here, but there's a whole vent systems and everything else that you can keep an eye on those settings and make things change. And then all I'm going to do is value, settings, set settings. If you've ever used React's hooks, or sorry, use state, you know you get the value name, comma, set value name, or value set value. React.dev, please take it's actually kind of neat. Same thing that you saw before. There it is with children. There's our use context for our hooks, and then we return our provider, or we export it. Any questions? That was a lot. Deep breaths. It gets better. Now, my absolute favorite thing, auth. excuse me, we are going to create 2 forms. A registration form and a login form. This is what your registration form looks like, and there's the code for it, but we'll get there. All right, I quickly did that, so now, if you'll look inside of your project, inside of your forms, and click register, we have a problem. It's empty. So this is not going to run. This is broken. And I did that on purpose. So our registration form needs quite a few things. And I can do a couple of things here. I wanted to ask my audience. Now I have, because I am a cheater, I have a version that is not empty. But this is where it comes funny. Now I can do a couple of things here. I can either create a gist. I can give you a link, very big text of a link that you can go and get the form text from, or you can build it. Now, it's up to you. But I can also put the code up here and let y'all copy what I've already done. So what would you guys like? Who would like to copy the code from the one that I already did locally? 1, 2, 3. Keep going, because that's kind of what I was hoping for. All right.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna tell us what we needed and then we build it.
We're building this thing.
Okay.
We're building it.
Okay.
We're building it. You ran npm install. You got everything that you need. Wait, what? Was that words? I didn't understand. So, or, like I said, we can copy this. You guys want to copy it, and I can talk while you're copying and writing this down, or copying this code up here. And then, when you get to line, y'all see 37? When you get to line 37, wave. Or I'll just give you, how long do you guys think? About, give you 10 minutes. Get line 37. Yeah. Because being a compiled programmer, primarily, TypeScript has types, and it's safer. It's a whole lot safer.
I'm looking at this thing.
It's not any different, by the way. ECMA script is almost the same now.
No, I just
You don't have to use TypeScript.
No, I know. I'm just saying, of course it's similar, but there are certain details that I saw, default. I was like, what?
Like generics. Yeah. Well, fallback was just it's just named parameters, kind of, but it's coming in on it. I get you. So in that function, if you tried to pass in a number, or if you tried, let's say you had variable name : string, if you had to pass in a number, it would error, it would fail. So it's type safe. So that way I can ensure that the right types are getting put into place. So.
That was back to the conversation. That was an actual
TypeScript, I would highly, dude, I've been writing JavaScript since IE5. TypeScript is a very, very well done language. And it just compiles the JavaScript, but the JavaScript that it produces is also very clean. Microsoft really outdid themselves with it. So. Yeah, or just, you already know JavaScript, so you really won't be that much of a lift. It's just a couple of colons here and there. Generics are neat. You can do some cool stuff with generics. By the way, how many are y'all, that brings up a question. How many of y'all are new to TypeScript? Holy smokes. So it's just JavaScript with colons and types. So if you write compiled languages, if you write language that has a type system, it'll be second nature. Yes, sir. Wait, you want a link to this? Yeah. So you can copy and paste it? Yeah. Yo, are you kidding me, man? See, that's me. I write it. Hey, I asked. Nobody said anything. See, if you don't interact with me, I don't know what you want. I can't read your mind. where's the off? There it is. How can I get y'all? Oh, okay. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a process of walkthrough because, like I said, if you don't say anything, So how many of y'all use Git to pull my chat right? Okay, just double check it. Did you use Git or did you just download the zip? Who downloaded the zip? Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough here. Can you all see my browser okay? Forking's fine. Can you see it now? All right. Go to github.com/wess/chatright. We're going to walk through this. Since y'all gave me such a hard time, I'm going to make y'all click through this. What you break now?
Is it possible in VS Code for you to change the color theme? I can see certain.
Oh my gosh, you're white mode versus dark mode? Come on. Are you really asking me to change my theme?
You can keep it dark mode, it just needs to be a different dark.
See, you're getting ahead of me. Click this link right here. And then click Remove Extensions is the name, the title of the commit screen on the last screen. All right, and then you're going to come up here and click Browse Files. Yeah, see, this is called punishment for not answering when I asked.
Because of the lighting, it's like all blurred. It's like most of the screen is blurred from the back of the room.
See.
Non-dark mode.
Oh my God.
I think you have a pair of sunglasses that are
All right, the rest of my session will be handled like this. Yeah, the boss told me to make it light mode, so now y'all have to deal with Coder Charles. All right, so once you click on that remove extensions link that was on the previous, y'all need me to go back a page? Okay. Retina burn. Oh, right there where it says removes extensions. Click on that right there, that title. Right above 8-bit me. You got lost? C++ programmers, if she's not managing her own memory, nothing is.
I don't write the code, I just analyze.
Oh, you're one of those.
They want me to be the pipeline expert, and I don't know what all that entails, but I'm here.
Well, I appreciate it. So once you click on remove extensions, my eyes, my poor eyes. You click on that, you should be brought to this. And then if you click over here, you'll see Browse Files. Click on Browse Files. Again, this will teach you not to answer me when I ask. Now, you should know where you're at. Go to Source Folder. Go to Forms. Go to Register. You can even click that button right there, copy it, and paste it into your forms. No, all of it. You might as well do all of it. At this point, if you wanted to learn, you'd have answered. I'm just kidding with you. Did you run npm install? You copy that and paste it. This is I was going to get you guys to code it because it will tell you as you're going through. Command A, delete, paste. save. Scroll up. I got a feeling. Look up, scroll down. Oh, you're gonna burn right past the error. Highlight it.
Right here? Right here?
No, just hover over V stack. Me too. Sorry, I'm not trying to overtake.
No, it's okay.
Ignore it for a minute. Ignore it for a minute. Now I ain't changing this. Ignore the red for a minute.
Okay, I just started to use React. I just want to make sure it's working.
Hey, ignore the red for a minute. There's, I don't know why it's doing it. It won't. It'll actually keep working. It's a VS Code thing. I mean, mine's red too. See, look. Turn your errors off if you don't like it. All right, has everybody completely copy and pasted the system in which they were using? Who else is still copy and pasting? Like real programmers. I should have just sent you the Stack Overflow. Y'all could have done the same thing. Excuse me? I love ChatGPT. It troubleshoots like a bandit. Although I can't give it links. Yeah. So everybody good? All right, you're going to see red. Ignore it. Who needs, I mean, there's errors. But they're editor errors. They're not mine. And if they are mine, they're still not mine. Because it works on my machine. All right. So, that means I can switch it. I'm incomplete now. I don't have to, y'all wanted that? I could just, you know what, I could have just committed the new one. Y'all re-downloaded it. But whatever. You know what, I was trying to do something nice. So in that same folder, in that same list of files, do the same thing with form/login.tsx and copy and paste that into your project as well. And what I'll do is after the session, I will commit. I'll push the full version back up to the repository so you guys can get the full working version. See, this is what doesn't make sense. The exact same code is used in login.tsx that's used in register. I literally copied and pasted and removed a field. And look, it's not red. She good though. All right, who's up for a challenge? Yes. Wait. No. Ladies and gentlemen, can I present to you, followed by your coding exercise, the opportunity to win an Appwrite backup battery. It features a chrome outside, solid stainless steel design with engraved Appwrite, buttons and plugs to keep your things charged and ready to go. All right, so I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And the first person that fixes the red and can tell me how to do it can come up here on my computer and fix the red. See?
Are you pushing us or you don't know?
I don't feel like doing it. I think it's a configuration that I have off. I don't, hey, and by the way, the reason I said ignore the red is because it works, but I use Vim and I don't see the same things usually. Now get up here. Fix it. first one mentioned? Just if he can fix it, he'll get the battery. It's fine. You've already won something, so it's all fine. TikTok. You got 5 minutes. Command comments. How you turn on the shortcut to settings.
Okay, thank you.
And they're all going to be watching you on screen.
I'm not using that right now.
3 minutes. He's got 3 minutes. If he doesn't fix it in 3 minutes, I'll take the next person.
Yeah. Fun. I'm trying to open this file. I need to open the JSON file.
Oh, go to extensions. Go scroll down and find it. Say change it in. I use Vim, man. This is painful.
You know what?
I'm not trying to give you pressure. All right, who else knows the answer on how to fix it? All right. What's that? But so when you did npm install, it should have actually done that. You figured it out? Go up to my laptop. Wait, did you win glasses?
No.
Okay.
I put my own glasses on.
No, I didn't know. I can't remember who got sunglasses. I was trying to make sure everybody gets a chance.
I want that, but I got it.
All right, everybody's watching you. You got 5 minutes. Your friend, he didn't make it. It's all right. And then you're going to spill my empty cup everywhere. No, I'm just kidding with you. Gary. Thank you for trying. Now, whoa. You're not done yet. Now you have to explain it to everybody.
So on Stack Overflow, it literally said hit Command Shift P or F1, and then go like TypeScript, select TypeScript version, and just use workspace version. So it's 3 steps.
Oh, see, Vim does that for me. And now you have to walk around and help everybody.
The error into Google, and you press the option.
See, Vim does that for me.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So now everybody's got login.tsx copied and pasted and register.tsx copied and pasted. What else do we want to copy and paste? Now we're going to head over to source/pages/landing. Now, here's a really good trivia question. All of this stuff that we've been talking about, what have we not talked about? What have we not mentioned at all? Wait, which one of you said it first? And you see, that's the point. When I said Appwrite was invisible, we've done nothing except set up a little client. I don't really count that. We haven't done anything to interact with that SDK at all. All of this troubleshooting, all these problems, all these things that are going on, that happens without a breath of Appwrite. That was setting it, so I was talking about when we were setting up the UI and everything. We didn't write any Appwrite code. So as you see, Appwrite is doing what it's supposed to do. It's remaining invisible and it's staying out of your way. But now, let's go, as my kids say. So inside of your landing page, oh, hold on. The tutor's at work. All right. So Now we are on our landing page. And our landing page does a couple of things, really nothing at all. We still haven't talked about Appwrite. I'm setting up an entire form and everything, no Appwrite. So right here, all I did was set up a UI with a switch on it. Oop, I'm going to put it. So it's got a little router in it for magic. So here's your route. That's why I switched to routers, is because it's easier to show than pages and code. We're defining our routes. The path to register, and then the index it defaults to is login. Simple enough, right? Yeah, good. No Appwrite. So let's do Appwrite. All right, now go back to your register form. I'm going to keep saying this, by the way, that you copy and pasted. My whole goal now is to get her to snort.
No. Why open that?
All right, so anybody used Formic before? It's just a very easy, simple library, nothing crazy. All it does is make it a lot easier. Go to Formic. I'll have the links up and everything. You can also go to the README file. It has everything linked in it as well. The template also has all the links to all the libraries that are used. Now, you can go read that stuff. So Flash was another, this comes from a Rails thing for me back in the day. Anybody know what a Flash message is? At the top of your screen, that little thing that says, you successfully did this, or no, not at all. That's what Flash is. So I'll go back to the layout stuff in a second. So that's our Flash message, just a little component that pops up at the top for 5 seconds to say right or wrong. So this is our submit action. So this is the action that's, whenever you hit the submit button, this is what we're going to use. This is the command that's executed. I set submitting to false because just like the event, I cancel it out. I don't want it to actually submit the form old school style, like really old school style. And then I'm going to say, now this is a cool little thing. Out of values, values is an object, so it's key, value, key, value, key, value. And out of those, I want name, email, and password set right to the variable of the same name. So all I do is still no Appwrite. So what I do is I say name, email, password equals values, and it automatically does that for me because it's polite. Now, first off, it's an async function. Everybody okay with asynchronous functions? Right? We got to wait a beat for it to happen. So now some cool stuff you could do here, if you're not as lazy as I am, is you could have see how it says use state error, set error? You could also have set submitting as a Boolean value. And that way you could put like a cool spinner on the screen, and you would start it here, and then you would end it right here, or right there after 74. All right, so then we're going to say, hey, let's create a brand new Appwrite account. Now, one thing I did forget to fix, and we will fix it right here because, yay, live. So I'm going to go up here. Well, we can leave it for now. I'll just tell you about it. So this right here, we have actually an updated API. This still works. But we have a updated API, which will be you can import ID from Appwrite and do appwrite.unique. So we namespaced it to, for safety's sake. All right, and then we're going to pass in our email, our password, and our name, which is the registration form, if you remember, is 3. Email, name, password. And then if it's successful, yay. Otherwise, oh. And we're going to show that. And there's your error box. So one line of Appwrite. So in all of this, all of your copy and pasting, one line of Appwrite in this form. Now, you could do things crazy cool where you could pass an array of possible forms and then knock one form out at a time. But if you look at your login form, it's the exact same thing, except for it's missing a field. So you only have email and password. Yep. Now I'll go to my terminal. Y'all don't have to see this because it's so ugly and bright. Oh. Oh, God, I can't see. No, she told me I had to. Oh, retina burn. Ooh, I got an error. So, oh look, we got to do live troubleshooting because whatever y'all did broke my code. Yeah, it's your fault. My file. This is new. Chat index, you said?
Uncontent syntax area, the requested module source pages chat index subtext, which is not provide and export in default. I don't know if it's a red herring or not, but yeah, it's an empty. Looks like it's an empty file.
Oh, did I not? Oh, not, this is not right. Wrong one. I also use dir env, so don't pay attention to it. You don't have to know that. Beep boop. There we go. See, I had two of them. I had one that wasn't copied and pasted, and another one that was complete, but y'all copied and pasted, so here we are. So, if you go to that little magic box, and if you need to know, it's Control tilde, will pop up a terminal at the bottom. If you go in there, you should be able to type npm. Let me kill it on this real quick. npm run dev.
It's going to fail until you copy the chat page. I'm sorry.
That's the point. All right. npm run dev. And as we've heard, it will fail if you run it because we are missing one major proponent. So we're going to go back over to our browser. Go back to our, you guys didn't close this, right? You guys left this open? Because now you got to go to, where'd it go? Thank you. See, y'all got me so discombobulated because of your copy and pasting this. All right, so source pages chat index.tsx, y'all can copy and paste that guy in there. And let me know when that's done. You might need any help? Questions, comments, concerns?
Is that from the same commit?
Yes, it's for the same one. Removes extensions. Some It seems if you say that you're going to do that, they don't. They break. What kind of candy is that? They're tiny. What the heck? Seriously, who makes mints this small? It's like I'm taking medicine. Yeah, I swallowed it, see? All right, 2 more minutes for you guys to copy and paste this.
No, it's not supposed to work.
Mr. Backwards hat.
You got to go copy that.
I did that.
It's because you can't see the lights.
No, I didn't.
I'm not familiar with it. That's on my part. I need to get familiar with it as a merge step guy. So
I
after,
didn't even remember that's an error. You can ignore that one.
I know. After V, how do I run it?
Go to localhost :5173 or command click right there.
Damn, I should have known. Thank you.
By the way, you'll get this one little weird error on the scroll to bottom reference. This, hold on real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to break you off the. This right here, you're going to get that error. Just ignore it because I like the conditionals, and sometimes it's in the right TypeScript version, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's honored, sometimes it's not. But it'll always execute, so. Just kidding.
Now save it. And save it. It's the same user. The register. You don't just Command S. Command S is the same. And then open up the web browser.
See, I have to make my font all big. Y'all get to leave it all small so I can't see nothing. I am 43 years old and I do not have my readers. I'm stealing this just for a second. How is your thing off? So you just had a path error. It was whenever you cloned it, I think you just some of the files were moved around a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
I'll check, see if we might. That's a good problem though. All right, so quick question. Did any of you guys get text field errors? Everybody? Oh, just choked on this pill mint. Does this run? Who is this not working for? Of course, you three. No, I'm just Wes, not Jesus, man.
Okay, so that's the error, and it's just saying the object is not.
It's not
Yeah,
defined.
it's not defined. So I'm not sure.
I was trying to see if we should define it in line 41.
I promise you, if you said it, I told you that error was going to happen.
Yeah.
So why are you calling me over here? Is it not working?
Like that's it right there. I even hard refreshed and everything.
Refresh several times.
And then you got to use Chrome. That's part of your problem.
Oh, okay. Here you go.
You should inspect it.
Yeah, look, you put on the phone. Oh, you didn't? I'm on. Chat index.
Is this a copy paste issue?
Probably. Cause see, exporting default from login. So if you go back to login, nope, not that. Oh, it helps when you copy paste all the files.
Which files?
Forms/login.tsx, register.tsx, and then chats, pages chat index.tsx. You the one in class, right? Anybody else? So you should have copy and pasted right now. I'll reiterate for you. Source forms register.tsx, login.tsx, and pages/chat/index.tsx. You got all of them? Okay. No problem. Everybody good? Y'all ran that magic line. Y'all see this on your screen? Okay. What? Yes. I knew.
I have no idea what set error would be. Like I did the run npm dev. Oh, I did that. Oh shit.
Sometimes it misses things.
Because we did that at the beginning, right? Yeah, yeah. Cool mask, by the way. I looked.
Oh, thank you.
It's really awesome.
Did you copy and paste everything?
I did, yeah, all 3 files.
Because it says unexpected token, which means you have a file it doesn't have.
I'll go back and just re-copy and paste them.
Yeah, do that.
Yep.
It's just something got a little dicey in there. The worst part about it is that Vite doesn't always give you the right answer, the correct issue. But it has enough. It can't find.
There's something that's off. Maybe it was that original. I think login is where we started, or maybe register.
See, it did all the dependencies. I don't know why it's not giving you the errors. It could be version errors.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I don't want to hold the class. I'll go back and just recopy and paste it.
I'm also going to recommit all the regular ones. So if worse comes to it, I'll help you afterwards.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. All right. How's everybody feeling? You need a break? All right. 5-minute break. Please return at 12 o'clock. All right, 4-minute break. Whatever. You gotta split hairs about it. No, I'm like a machine, man. I don't drink caffeine ever. Oh. Raise your hand. What's the haps, Caps? Bring up your developer tools.
Right now I'm only just working on Sublime. I'm still downloading.
Oh, people still use Sublime? I didn't know that. You don't have to use VS Code. Okay. Where are you running Vite at?
Sorry, come again?
Got a terminal? Where's it actually running at? Okay. So it is running successfully. So go into Chrome and go to developer tools. Usually it's a copy paste issue. Everybody types it out. They usually don't have these because they're typing it out. Go to console. So go back to your code. All right, go to chat.
Their query, so and they serve a lot. Their hub is super good.
Yep, open that up.
Like the
Save it. You forgot to save it.
How do I thought
that
auto saves.
alone,
Well, the circle means that it's not saved, right? Is that because that's usually the error that you're getting is from it can't find this because whenever you log in successfully, it redirects you, so it imports you to the component.
I just don't know how to save. I just downloaded this.
It's all right. Look for a second. So, what editor do you normally use?
This is like I usually use, I haven't coded in 2 years, so I used to.
No worries. All right, let's go to.
with one of
I used to use that too. It's very, very scary.
That's old school.
All right.
And I follow a few Instagram pages like that
So you forgot to copy and paste login.
always delete Instagram.
So there's no code inside of login.
Okay, so I did copy paste it here. It's just I never saved it.
Yeah. See how it turned? See the circles? If you hit Command S, it goes from being a circle to an X. That means it's saved.
Command S still works in this case? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sublime, you have to be very explicit with your settings, and one of them for autosave is you have to actually go in and do it. It doesn't default anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna search it up.
By the way, keep dancing.
Which is what we could do.
Yes.
I'm able to run it, but it's blank.
Can you open up your developer tools? No, go back to your editor. I mean, sorry, your browser. All runs together. Go to your 3 dots. More tools. Developer tools at the bottom.
So this is their syntax.
All right, so go to your login.tsx file. In forms. Right there. All right, you didn't copy and paste it, that's all.
So this is in the.
So it can't use something that's not being exported?
It's here, right?
Yeah, so if you go to that login form, and if you scroll to the top of that, by the way, click Browse Files, not that one, that's why.
Oh.
That's why I was whenever I did it, explicitly to Browse Files. Now go to Source, Forms, Login, and then hit that little 2-page thing, and it'll automatically copy it to your pasteboard.
I thought this was blank, so
Let me see.
this thing was blank. That's why.
Let's jump back to.
That's why I directly went to the commits and copying from there.
Yeah, so I was not expecting you guys not to want to write the code. There you go. Using the wrong commit.
I think she's having the same problem that you're just looking at, that indirectly exporting by the name default.
So go to open up login.tsx.
Is that here?
No, on your editor. All right, so go to your register file. Register.tsx. You haven't saved that yet. See the circle up by the name on the tab?
You're
That
not
means
doing the auto save.
so hit Command S.
Command S. All right. I think
Okay.
should be good.
Now go to your
Alright.
browser.
Yeah.
Refresh it. She probably
There
doesn't
we
have
go.
it.
No, it's not auto save.
What?
Yeah. There we
See,
go.
you gotta save. You gotta save the
leave,
files.
You're not gonna leave Wess, are you?
Boom. All right, public service announcement. please make sure that you save your files. And please make sure that you have copied and pasted login.tsx, register.tsx, and chat.tsx. If you would like further information, please contact me up at the front. You know who you are. All right. Everybody good? Tessa, how we looking back there? I can't hear you. All right, just let me know. You just wave when you're ready. I got to get caught up on slides. You see, see, we were going to write this together. Bunch of Stack Overflow programmers. I'm just kidding. I use it too. Oh, by the way, you can also find me on YouTube. My channel is Fresh Full Stack. I'm working on a really cool logo. I can't do this anymore. It's hurting my eyes. I'm just gonna have to. Shh, don't tell anybody. Ah! All right, what do you guys think of my Fresh Full Stack logo while we're waiting? Like it? I'm a graffiti artist. Don't ask me what I used to do as a kid. Well, it's partially drawn and partially AI generated. So it drew like a really crazy three-dimensional version of it, and then I was like, no, I just wanted, so I drew it. Bing. It really didn't matter. I tried to do, was it Mid-Journey? But something about a Discord interface was really bad. I got to come up with a really good trivia question. And that's just a Fire Stick. We just call it, we just brand everything. That's right. I like it. The invisible interface.
What time is your session?
On Friday? Wait, we don't have one on Friday. I'm just doing 2 today. She's the boss. I'm going to decorate it now. Better? A little wild style, a little bubble style. That'll work. I do all my kids. All of his friends. I tag all their shoes for him. These markers are amazing for that. And then you also get them on sale with a 2-pack, the thins ones and the big ones. It's easier than bridges. It's also cheaper than rattle cans. So I was telling my oldest kid, they'll bring me their older Air Force Ones that are white, and I'll tag their names on the side of them. So I can do airbrush too, but I'm not as good. Like, Tessa, are we okay? We're good. Okay. Is your hand raised, or are you just confusing me? Just confusing me. It's not hard. Don't feel accomplished. All right. Oh, you got it? Okay. Well, it's cool to be 2 years ago. I mean, I have no problem with it. All right. So we've copied. Everybody's got a view now. Everybody can see a login page. If you click the register button, you should see a register page too. Anybody not see that? Right? It's kind of snappy, right? And we still have only written one line of Appwrite, right? But Wes, where does it all happen? Well, database we'll dive into now. So we've done our user session. All of that. All of that, and it was still one line of Appwrite. The rest of it was us battling everything else, okay? Because software engineering and developing is 10% writing new code, 90% of I'm going to leave now. So up next, we got create a database. We're going to log into our consoles. We're going to create a new database. We're going to create a collection, and we're going to add some attributes. So when you're creating a database from the Appwrite console, you're going to select your project, select databases from the left menu, click create database. Now give your database a name. I suggest strongly using messages. Message. Do you I need to write so you can copy and paste messages into the box? I mean, you just open the door. I just walk through it. All right. We'll put it out. All right. Next up, you're going to, from your databases, when it pops up, you should get a little screen that says create collection. Now give your collection a name. Wait, yes, and then hit, I would also name that messages. And then hit create. You can name it whatever you want, really. And we're going to go through this too. I'm going to open up the console in dark mode, and you just kind of deal with it. Then we're going to add an attribute, which I'll show you in a second. So pause your clickies and wait just a minute. And we're going to create attributes just like a database. Text, strings, all the magic. As you can see all of them there, we got string, integer, float, boolean. And we got some of our own, email, IP, URL, and enumeration or enum option. All right, so let's head over to, where did I go? There it is. Nobody look at my password. Yes, I did develop a cryptocurrency on Appwrite.
I guess Appwrite can do anything.
Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. So I named mine general, so I totally lied to you guys. Messages. Okay, so these are my messages. These are my attributes. Now you're going to create these same attributes, and I'm going to tell you something funny about this. So you're going to create, in your dropdown, and add attributes on your collection, you're going to create user required string.
Real quick. Database, messages. Collection, also messages.
You can name whatever you want to. I named mine general, and then I thought about that just a minute ago that was a bad name. Because this is a chat app.
There should be a collection, though, inside of the database called something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you want. So databases. Messages/messages should be messages. There's your collection ID. Attributes that you will add will be user, message, and created. 255. Let's just give it all. I got her now. All I got to do is point. If I point different ways. 255 is what I put in. If you want, 255 is because I'm an old school SQL guy, and varchar is only 255. Yeah, required. So if you go up here, create attribute, you give it a name. Ooh, we got arrows now. Negative size. Require it. Give it no default. Create. Ooh, I got a bug. Tessa, I found a bug. I found a bug. All right, so apparently there is exactly a bug. Yes, bug. I'm only excited about a bug because I didn't write this.
So you get to tell somebody that they didn't do their job right. No.
Got it. I got you.
Wait, so
Oh, not here.
message and required?
Hold on. I hit that bug and now I got. Oh yes. Oh, look, it's dark mode. See, Chakra automatically picked up my dark mode. Oh, well, some of it. I cannot type without a mechanical keyboard, apparently.
My brain was like, question. Processing. Okay. Why is it processing? Great. Okay.
So many people are on the network here. I think it's starting to bog things down and timing out. So awesome. So that's what I was saying. What's happening is I think there's so many people on the Wi-Fi here, it's just draining it. And so it's timing out. Because I just got it too. See?
Is there, Wes?
Yes.
I don't know if we've made any changes recently. Did they delete a database or do they have to delete the whole project? Because no one can open their database because I have the
So it's not all showing up because of the connection. So there's buttons that are missing. What's that?
I'm using my own from my phone.
And you get a 500?
Yeah.
Hey, Tessa, will you send Christy a message and see if they're deploying something? Because that would be horrible. This is why we code directly on production. Wait, what would a live seminar be without errors and bugs and issues, right? Are you breaking it still? See, she's got it. All right. So we'll go forward. You guys, Tessa's gonna jump. Tessa's gonna. Let's go back to. So while Tessa's doing a little.
Hey, Wes,
Yes.
what was the third field on the template?
Created. And I'll tell you something funny about that in a second as soon as we can get back to it. So so we automatically do a created at and updated at for you. It starts with a $sign, but I created my own because the $sign to me means private fields. You can still access them. I just want the $sign in front of it means to me is not a dot variable. It means I had to use brackets, and I didn't want to use bracket like index access on the object. And so I did my own created because I like dot syntax better. That's literally why it's there. All right, so you've all successfully copied and pasted chat. There's our use session. There's our use API. As soon as you can get a chance to get to it, you will see that we have our database ID and our message ID. Message is the collection that you create, or the collection that you created. User, message, created. Again, ignore this error for whatever reason. Some TypeScript likes it, some don't. It's just the question mark that's making it do that, because if you do Swift, the question mark is very recognizable, except for it doesn't like it. And then we're going to have some functions here. First off, let's talk about our set. You got your user and your set user. We're going to do a string. We just need the ID. And we're going to default to null. Messages is an array. It's going to be a list of messages. So we're defaulting our value to an empty messages. Pending message, set pending message, react.useState. So pending message is what you're typing while you're typing it. And when you hit enter, it empties. So the pending message is what we're reading and typing in. And then look what's there on the next line. Let API equals, there's our hook, use API, which is what we set up in our provider. So now you can see the easy access. And then we have some functions. Ignore scroll to bottom, because you can probably guess what that does. Now, get user. There's API.account, which was in the provider. Remember, we created the shorthand object. So we got dot, because I like dot syntax. So we got API. We're going to get the user, await, API.account.get, and then we're going to set the user with the user.name. So boom, we got the user and the username. If that fails, we're going to set that session null because we want to make sure that that user is invalidated. And I'll show you guys why in a second. Followed by, and we're going to take, while she's fixing that, I'm going to show you one thing. There's your send message. We're going to create a document, create document with database ID, message ID. And that was the syntax I was telling you about for creating a user. Remember I did in quotes, unique, open close parentheses. We've actually made it a lot more, you can still use the other one, but we've made it a lot more readable this way. And we're going to pass in the user, the message, and then we're going to pass in the created date, which is right now. And then we're going to call await messages. Now, I've talked to fellow developer friends who have said, why don't you just append the new message to the bottom of the array? And I was like, because I want to make sure the server and everyone else gets it at the same time that I do, because real time. So this is what you're looking at, is this is the real time thing. So as soon as I post my message to Appwrite, I call await get messages so that it will get the new messages with mine included in it. So I know that it's at the database level, it's been stored, and everyone else is going to get it as well. Again, not really an Appwrite thing, it's just a Wess thing. And then we have get messages, which I just said, and there's your query, there's your pseudo query language. .limit, .order, offset. This is so we can keep scrolling to the bottom and keep the messages going, and it's called quite often. And then we're going to call it. Now, one thing I do when I do sessions like this is I am way more over verbose than I would ever be. So if you see something you're like, that's redundant, then that's why, is I do it for redundancy, and also because it irritates me, myself, and it forces me to stop there and explain it in more detail. What's up?
I did get an update from the core engineers, and they said right when we were making the databases, their major backup started. They turned on the cloud backup.
Okay.
It was like that same second.
Of course.
But we're going to prevent that from happening.
So, well, thank you, Tessa, for checking that out. All right. So your incoming messages, like I said, if it's more verbose, it's for my annoyance so that I know to stop and talk about it more often. It's my own way of giving me horrible notes. So incoming, we make the query, we get the documents back, list.doc. So the response that we get will have more information than just the documents themselves. It'll have how many there are, what the offset is, and some other metadata to help us keep the pagination life going. Then we're going to map this. Again, you didn't really need to do this map part, but it lets you see all the different pieces. So I got my ID, I got my user, and I got my message, and then I use day.js, which is also in the README file, because I want to format it like this so that in the brackets it'll show the time, like everybody has used Slack or Discord, or I still use IRC, for example. So, and then we're going to take the current messages, and then we're going to add new messages to the bottom of it. So that's called spread syntax. It says I'm going to take everything inside of messages and put it right there, and I'm going to take everything inside of incoming and put it right there as one array. Now, how many people are familiar with the React effects? So react.dev, if you're curious. So think of it like side effects. When the page is done loading, when it's done rendering, the effects are called. So like use effect? Yeah, like use effect. So I created an effect, so effect is not an asynchronous function. I need it to be an asynchronous function, so I created an asynchronous function called effect. And in that, I'm going to do await get user, get messages. This just ensures that I haven't already set it up yet, because may or may not have something in it. And then here's the magic. This is it. This is all I got to do is api.client.subscribe to all my documents. You could be very specific if you want to. And there's a response object, which we are not using, so I underscore it for my own sake. And look at the function that it calls, the same one, get messages. We don't change anything because remember, we're setting our offset. So pagination is built in. We're grabbing the new ones. We're adding them to the bottom. And then we're calling scroll bottom, that error function, moving it down. Use effect, react.dev for more information. We're calling that effect function. And we're just passing it in as scope expansion or whatever you want to call it to be included inside of it, and so on. Now, if user is null, we're going to show the loading screen. And I'll get back to why that's important. And then we're going to do the next one is we're going to return our chat room. And it really isn't that much to it. There's your set pending message. So every time you type something in that text field, React is automatically updating that variable. Set every single time. And when you hit enter, it sends the message and then it sets pending message to empty string. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's our chat room. And so I'm going to pause right here to take one step back so y'all can see something. It still is not Appwrite, but it's still magical. Right here. So there's your flash message, which is going to say, if you have a flash message showing at the top, wait a second, get rid of it. There it is for flash. If there's flash, then I'm going to show this little UI snippet here. There it is. If the session at any point in time goes null, they're redirected to the landing page. Again, that's your hook there. I didn't do any magic code or anything like that. One of the annoyances I had coming up writing web applications and stuff, even before progressive web apps or single page or whatever you want to call it, was having to do that constant check for a user on each single piece of the application if session is equal to this. So I just did this as a convenience. This is my style. This is what I did. So this checks here. Now, layouts. That's telling you which layout you're going to use. The landing layout, which is the bar at the top, or if you have a menu, which this one does not because it's just a single chat app, a box that we're going to put all the children in. And then if you come down to application, there's your loading, your initial, there's our provider. There's which layout we're going to use, which is this switch right here. Oop. And that's pretty much it for that. So I just had to jump in there real quick to show you that I'm using that same, it was more or less Appwrite on that, and it was more that I'm checking that session. So I'm using that same hook. So that same hook is available at that level all the way down to our chat. And it's the exact same piece of data. Now, where did I put my browser? So if I log in, don't look at my password. Here I am. Now what's cool is what you're seeing is people in previous talks that I've given or that I've done online or anything like that from like ViewConf was one of them on all for a while. These are all real live chat messages that are there. If you visit, and this I want to test this with you guys. Can y'all see that okay? Will somebody try to type in 127.20.5.112:5173? See if the website comes up for you. Yeah, it's all viruses. I'm such an elite hacker that I can make Vite and JavaScript give you a virus. If it doesn't work, that's fine. I just wanted to see if it would. So let's all right, instead of that, type in wess.ngrok.io. See if that works. Oh, interesting. Because there it is. Oh, I got some of y'all looking at it. I can see. All right, so if you do that, you should be able to register for an account, log in, and say hello. And I want, if you can get to it, everybody say hello. I've been trying to collect people's little messages and stuff on here because I think it's really cool. While y'all are doing that, let's go back to the code for a second. So we've had 2 lines of Appwrite, one in our login form and one in our register form. And then we've had 1, 2, this is the biggest lift, 3, 4. So that's 4 total lines of code, because you could all put that on one line. I just like spaces and inners. 4 total lines of code in order to create the interactivity, the APIs, and everything. You wrote no server-side code. You wrote nothing else other than the UI, and the UI was still the biggest hassle. But we stayed out of your way. Appwrite completely stayed out of your way while you did this. Oh, it's dark mode breaking. So, any questions? Comments, concerns? That's right.
For functions and stuff, is there like a specific language or something we can hook it on?
We support, I think, like 8 languages right now. All right, so I got to get caught up on my slides real fast, so while y'all are logging in. We're going to subscribe to messages, which we already saw. And sending a message, yep. Here's the code. We saw that because y'all all just copied and pasted it. We're sending a message. We went through that code. All right. And in the wrapping up, once I get through this part of it, I'll do the last and final trivia question. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's because you're using a gold laptop. This is yours.
Yes. And then I tried using the Wess one, and it all did the same. So I was wondering if it was just the server.
There you go.
Just show me what time.
Yeah, so it was west.ngrok.io.
Oh, and then I put the file.
And if you guys don't use ngrok, it's a really cool tool for tunneling to your local host so that west.ngrok, y'all can use it. All right. While y'all are fidgeting with that, I'll go back to the databases real fast. General, messages, attributes. There you go. There's XYZ created a string before everything exploded. I can delete it. Created it twice. There it goes. Oh, I got a good trivia question. You win. Yeah, stop in, say hello. Oh, because they restarted everything. All right, how's everybody looking? Everybody get on in Grok? Everything work fine? Your stuff's working? No? That's why it's not refreshing.
What's that?
That's why it's also not refreshing on my chat. Because it's not doing anything. It's fine. I can talk around it. All right. Now, so we've just learned something. I'll be like in the tradition of Appwrite transparency, since everything's open source and all the good stuff. So we're hosted on DigitalOcean, and DigitalOcean is doing a regional backup, which is also causing us to have a regional backup apparently. So the issues like why you have to refresh the page, for example, is all because we're stuck in their process right now, and they just scheduled it without even letting us know. So, any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah, actually, I messed that step. Thanks, you're better than I am. All right. Boop, at the very top. So when you go into your console, you go to databases, you select your database. There'll be a little magic link right next to database name, your whatever you named your database, and it'll allow you to say copy it. So you copy that ID, and you'll replace it inside of chat, TSX, you'll replace it with your ID. And whatever you named your collection, which mine was messages, whatever you name that collection, the exact same thing. Click the collection. Right next to the collection name, it's a little magic button, and it'll copy that ID, And then you're going to go into chat, or pages, chat index.tsx, and you're going to replace those two values. And funny note, though, if it didn't work for your local, it's because it was trying to connect to my project. But your project IDs were off. So. Your collection ID. Whatever you named your collection. What do you mean, like scroll up? Okay, you can expand the functionality to your own desire. Thanks for showing the flaws of my application. It's fine. No, it's cool. It doesn't paginate backwards. Are you trying to access mine or are you trying to run it on yours? Make sure you have your message ID, your database ID, and your project IDs all updated. All right. And I have a really good last trivia question. All right. Any more questions? Everybody pretty caught up? And hey, after this is over, before we do the next session, come find me and I'll see if I can help you through any of the issues that you're having. All right. So let's recap. We did a lot. We went through Appwrite, what Appwrite is. We talked about different backend services, all that stuff. Mainly talked about Appwrite. We wanted to build a chat application. We wanted to code that application. You chose to copy and paste. That was not on me. So if your issues were your own. And we have an outcome of you were able to access a local host, register for an account, sign in, send a message. You can even access mine. Any questions, comments, or concerns? No. Your next steps will be go to appwrite.io. And check out the documentation and all the SDKs that we have and start building your own app. Join our Discord. If you go to appwrite.io, you can also get an invite to our Discord. I think we're like 20-something plus thousand strong now, maybe more. And we're very responsive. Also check out twitch.tv/WessCope. And I forgot to add that link, I think. And every Tuesdays and Thursdays, Fresh Full Stack is where I will be live coding a Instagram type thing. From scratch all the way through. You make fun of me, I make fun of you, it's a whole thing. And then further resources for learning, like I already said. The technologies that we use are React.js, React.dev, Chakra UI, Vite, which is spelled wrong, Appwrite. We talked about the backend options we just said, Scratch or backend as a service. I introduced you to Appwrite. We talked about authentications, database, real time, and then I even asked if you had questions and you said no. There are all your links. I will update the ChatWrite repo after my second session because I need them to be able to make the same choice that you made, which is just copy and paste. Show us some love, appwrite.io, github.com/appwrite, and on twitter.com, appwrite as well. I am Wess, Wesscope on Appwrite and most social media. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. And I have one trivia question. Hold on. I appreciate that, though. One last trivia question. First person to raise their hand and answer correctly will get it. I'm coming off the mic. How many total lines of Appwrite did we write? Not 4.
3.
Not 2. Not 5. Not 1. Who said it? 6.
What is that?
It's a fire tick. We wrote 6 total lines of Appwrite, which goes to the credit of saying it was pretty much invisible to everything that we did. So thank you so much for coming. I'm around. Follow me. Let me know questions, and I'm always here to help. Thank you. Yes. yes, you can keep the little clouds.
Can I just say that somebody who's never done backend other than like the two things we're writing, this was really cool.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Like I said, reach out anytime. I'm more than happy to help. Teaching is my thing. Thank you.
Interesting work. I know nothing about Node.js and that stuff, so I was following in the playground there. You, as a, I don't know, your colleagues prepared,
So we do have a Swift SDK.
yeah,
And it works.
And it works.
Yeah, it works the exact same way as the Node and all the other stuff.
That's why it was easy to follow.
Well, you should fork ChatWrite and then put your Swift version in there. I'd be more than happy to show it off for you.
Yeah, I will think about that. I was stuck in a, I didn't create the local stuff.
Yes.
So I was trying to create the authentication. And the thing I was stuck at was
That too, so forgive me for the brightness. So today we're going to be building a chat room from scratch. When I say from scratch, I literally mean from scratch. I do make some assumptions, and I apologize. I probably shouldn't make assumptions, but a little bit of experience with the command line, how to download files, use a browser, those kind of things. I think being that it's a tech conference, I was pretty safe in assuming those things. If you have any questions, I like to be interrupted. I have ADD really bad. I pace, I walk around, I do things. So if you have questions, interrupt me, raise your hand, say, hey, Wes. I am Wes. Say, hey, Wes, I got a question. I also give away prizes. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. So I'll be asking you questions throughout the thing and trying to be the teacher that all the other teachers didn't like. So I am from Appwrite. My name is Wes Cope, Wesley. I'm a software engineer, full stack engineer at Appwrite. I've been writing code for 25 plus years. I started back when I was 8, and I'm very old. So in 1988, when I got a Commodore 64, I learned to write C and never stopped from there. Throw me a follow on Twitter. I'm trying to do the Twitter thing, so working on that. Again, if you have questions, just raise your hand. I miss that hat a lot. So what are we going to be doing today? First off, we're going to do some introductions. It's kind of done. We're going to talk about different backends that are available, and of course, we're going to mention Appwrite, being that that's what's on the T-shirt. Then we're going to go through the setup process of what we need to do. We're going to take authentication, database, real-time, all the things that you see there. I put questions at the end, but I would be really happy if you did interrupt me. Like I said, the ADD thing will kick in, I'll forget. And about every 15 to 20 minutes, if that's cool with you guys, then we'll take a break to try to drag this out as long as possible. Introductions. All right, so the overview. We are building that, and it's a little bit dated because I can't stop tinkering with it, but we are going to be building a chat room application from scratch that is fully functional. That means you'll be able to chat on it, you'll be able to use it. Holy awesome, this air conditioner just kicked on. So if you get cold, I apologize. So we're going to do user onboarding, registration, logging in. We're going to be sending messages to the chat room interface, and we're going to be receiving messages. Pretty common stuff. The technologies that we're going to be using are Appwrite as a backend as a service that offers us a whole plethora of greatness. Chakra UI because I'm lazy and I am not a UI designer. I am a UX guy and mainly a server-side low-level programmer. Formic because it seemed to be easy enough. React, I know a lot of people don't like it. It's simple enough. I've been using it the longest, so it'll also make it a lot easier for me to explain what's going on without trying to talk about other frameworks. I also like Svelte. I also like just straight up HTML and JavaScript. Ooh. We're going to be using a tool called Vite. I think it's spelled wrong to be pronounced that way. And Yup, which I know there's a lot of validation libraries out there. Again, the things that I use are the things that I use the most because I would rather talk about the technology than me trying to learn something or trying to remember all the APIs because there's a lot of stuff out there. Backend options. So, how many of y'all are familiar with mobile backends as a service, all of those awesome things? Show of hands. Got one here. Name some of them besides Appwrite. AWS. Kind of cumbersome, troublesome, problem to use, pain in the butt. Anybody else? Name one. Now, there used to be parse.com, and that fell apart. It's a community thing now. So there's tons of them out there. There's Firebase, Supabase, Appwrite. I think there's Kiwi. You could do a Google search and come up with a huge list of it. And there's also other options for the backend as well. We're going to discuss the options, not just backend as a service. We're going to go through it because I also like to write things from scratch. My current favorite language, I know approximately 16 programming languages. My current favorite is Rust with JavaScript, or TypeScript, same difference. So from scratch, when I say from scratch, I don't mean like we're building a chat room from scratch. I mean like you're building every part of this from scratch. There's a lot of moving pieces that go into it, not to mention a lot of time. And if you're anything like me at all, about halfway through the 900th time that you've written a user authentication system, you've already lost interest in the project and you've moved on with your life. Long and tedious, a lot of moving pieces, and setting up a database. And database is really kind of our biggest linchpin here. It's the biggest part, whether you use an ORM or you write SQL. I love SQL. Setting up a database migrations and management, making sure that the data is up to date, adding tables, removing tables, picking a framework or a language, whether it's Ruby on Rails, Express. I mean, this list could go on for years. We could spend an entire session just talking about all the options for that. Then you actually have to sit down and write the APIs. And how many of you on personal projects, not necessarily work projects, personal projects don't plan any of that out? You just start writing the code. Show of hands? Yeah. See, that's also, you get lost in it. And the bigger the application gets, the more you get lost in these projects. And that's fun. That's what we do. That's why we do what we do. We like to get lost in our projects, but we also probably have, if you're anything like me as well, I literally have a folder. I can get to my desktop. I literally have a folder right here called dev, and there's over 45 projects in there that never got finished. So, and a lot of them use Appwrite, so it just goes to show you. Then you got to set up test. If you do test, I am not a good test writer. I just assume that it works the first time. Assumptions are wrong. And then deployment. Are you going to deploy it on AWS? Which, if you're deploying something to AWS, you have a whole lot of certificate management. You got a whole lot of permissions. You got a whole lot of this, that, the other, and everything that you need to do. If you're using Heroku, you can't do it for free anymore, and that's sad. If you're using your own server that you've set up, then you have to install Apache, Nginx, LightTT, whatever you're using, MySQL, Mariah, Postgres, and so on and so forth. You have to get all of that set up, and then not only do you have to set it up, you have to then get your code to run there and work there, because it works on my machine is not good for web servers. And then once all that's said and done, and you get your first few users, you get all excited, and then you realize that you have to maintain that code, and then bugs are going to happen. Now, not only are you maintaining code, servers, the dependencies updated, because if you're using Node, and if you've ever looked, you're probably close to 16 million dependencies at any given time for using a project. I'm exaggerating. But all of those dependencies that you use also have to be updated, because if they do a breaking change, like going from version 1 to a version 2, then you're sunk. Like if you wrote all the dependencies on 1.0 and they no longer support it, you got to go back through and support your code as well. And then end users. How do they use it? You can't guess how they use it. You can write a user authentication system 100 times and still never get it quite right. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We can go a lot into depth. This is also a process which could take up the entire session. Then we have our backends as a service. They're not new, though we claim that they're new. We just gave it a name. So in 2014 was when parse.com came out. It was kind of the first real one that launched, and we didn't have a name for it then. It was just called parse.com. And then we slowly started seeing more and more of them happen. And with that, the backend as a service, or BaaS, or MBaaS, were born. There's little to no setup, of course. Companies offer paid hosting, and some of them even offer free hosting. There's no need to maintain servers. There's no need to maintain APIs, databases, storage. You can focus on is the front end of your code, the UI, the UX, the user experience, whether it's mobile, whether it's web, whether it's embedded. For example, I use Appwrite for IoT. I write my own firmware for 3D printers, and I have Appwrite set up on a home server, and I will push my new firmware to that, and it will use its functions and its events to send it out to all of my machines, and I flash my machines in sync. That's a whole nother thing. If y'all want to find me tomorrow when we're at the booth and want to talk IoT, I'm more than happy to. It's a problem. So common features out of the box: authentication, database, data store, various types, file storage, list goes on. Enter Appwrite. So let's slow down for a second. I kind of raced through all of that. So anybody have any questions about anything there? Is everybody familiar with node.js? Everybody got it? Everybody in there is running? You can use it on your machine. You're okay with terminal? I use this as a stopping point because I mean make sure everybody's on the same page because it's about to get crazy. We're about to get into it. Appwrite is a completely open source platform, helps developers build more easily, takes care of your backends as a scene, common tasks, developer focused, making their apps look great. Now, I also pace, so if I'm not on the mic and you can't hear me and I'm walking around, make sure that you raise your hand and say, could you talk louder? But I am, as my kids will tell you, I'm a very loud talker. So Appwrite is an animal of, to me, I've used all the other ones, I've tried all the other ones, it was very cumbersome for me for a lot, and like I said, I've been developing for a long time. So it started to get tedious with Firebase and Supabase and all the different ones out there as I tried them. I landed on Appwrite as a community member. And as a community member, I was using it to do the IoT thing. And I started talking to the founder of the company and asking the questions about doing IoT. And he goes, would you like to come work for us? And I said, anything to get out of this massively huge fintech that I work for, because writing financial software was going to take me to my grave. Not that there's anything wrong with fintech. If you like it, you like it. But I just personally am not a big fan. I'm not good with money. So as my kids' shoes will tell you. So the benefits of Appwrite. So we wanted to set out to aim to make a backend platform. In fact, our founder built the first version by himself before it became a company and building the community. But we wanted to take care of everything in the backend so that the developer could focus on building the front end regardless of what medium they were delivering their application on. Also, something different is there are other people out there, and I work very hard to not compare us to other people. Other services that are like us. But we wanted to be 100% open source, 100% open source. You can go see, you can go to Appwrite, you can go to github.com/appwrite/appwrite, and you can see 100% of all of our code. There's nothing to hide. It is completely transparent. So not only are we transparent as a company to each other, we're transparent to our community. And to me, that was very important. That was one of the driving factors to heading over here. And you can also know exactly what technologies are being used, what we're using to run on, and be a member of this community. It's been a very big deal to us, and we put community first before everything else. Built with security in mind, cross-origin scripting. We try to make sure your databases aren't publicly accessible. We do everything that we can to audit ourselves to make sure that, yes, we're open source, but whenever you're running us, you're also locked down and you're also very protected. You can't get to the database. We roll a lot of our own software, or a lot of our own frameworks and so forth in order to ensure that it's secure and that we are in control of every element for that security. All of your common tasks that we've talked about. We've even got some serverless functions, which is like AWS does with Lambdas and things like that. Everybody kind of does this. We do it too. So that you can extend Appwrite. We automatically include the Appwrite SDK to help you out there as well, command line to help you out, and so forth. Serverless functions is one of my favorite things. Unfortunately, building a chat room from scratch, we don't really use them. That's how simple it is. But they are really neat, so take a moment, appwrite.io, and check it out. SDKs. So we created a really cool SDK generator, and we have it for a plethora of languages, to the fact that it's too many to list, but JavaScript, of course, for web and server, Python, C#. We have community members do a C++ one. There's a Rust one I'm currently trying to fix up and work on, but there's a lot. So appwrite.io, dive in, take a look at all the SDKs that we offer. And if you don't see one there, join us on our Discord on appwrite.io and let us know, because we're trying to expand every day, and the generator makes it possible for us to do that. We can write one language, and that way, the other benefit to this is that if you're, how many polyglots? How many are out there? Multiple languages all the time. So you're using JavaScript, you're using Python, you're using PHP, whatever language you're using, the SDK APIs are the same. So if you store a document or you store a database record in Python, you're also going to be able to do the exact same syntax to store it in JavaScript. And that was very important, because we're trying to not make you learn something every single time. It's not different. And so that's huge. Before we get into this, we're gonna pause for a break in just a minute, but I wanted to get into something that's not on these slides. It's been a very pressing thing, and so I get asked the question a lot: what is different from us and the other people? And like I said, I try not to make those comparisons, but this is the question that I will get 100% of the time anywhere that I'm at and anywhere that I'm speaking at. So I coined the term that Appwrite is invisible. And when I say that it's invisible, I mean that you don't know that it's there. And when I say that, it fits into your style. Whereas if you're using one of our competitors, if you go through their documentation, you will notice that there's 1,000 different ways that they say you have to do this. And I call it, I don't know if there's any Street Fighter fans out here, I call it Hadouken code, like Ryu, Hadouken, because it goes like this. And you have to do it their way to make it happen. I'm an old man. I'm not going to learn their way. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to do it. If you tell me that I have to learn all of this new syntax and all these new flow and all these new styles, I'm not going to do it. I'm honestly 100% honest. And that was one of the reasons I started using Appwrite as a community member before I even worked here, was because I could just use it. Just use it. If I wanted asynchronous, that's fine. Whatever you want, it just kind of works there. It just fit into everything that I was doing already. I could even use, and I will show it later, is I use a provider pattern. It's built off of React hooks. It's just a way that I conglomerate everything up in my lazy habits. And it fit in. I didn't have to do anything special, but to use, and I'll say it, I'm going to whisper it because I don't like using competitors' names or anybody else's name, but I tried Firebase, and I couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. Because I had to do it their way. And I don't want to do it their way. I want to do it my way, and then that way I can do it the way I want to. I get the results that I want. And I don't lose interest because I have to learn something so new that it changes the patterns in which I do stuff. We're all creatures of habit. And if you sit down and do a project and you have to learn something completely new, it's daunting. And halfway through reading documentation, you realize, I don't want to do this anymore. That's me. So I won't speak for everybody. So before we dive into users, we start going into the feature sets and things like that for this section of it, we will take a quick break. 5 minutes good for you guys? All right, that was a whole lot of, so if you have any questions or that, you can ask too. So I'll be hanging out right here. We'll take a 5-minute break and then I will start back up again. And if you don't want me to take a break, you can just wave and I won't take a break. Don't want to keep going? Yes? All right.
Unless you need a break, then
Oh
I'll
no, I'm so I don't drink caffeine and I just drink that whole Starbucks thing, so I'm like wired. Which is probably why I'm talking so fast. As long as you can run Vite. So, and that's all built into the repository and stuff like that. Too. Yeah. Node.js. So it's just it's a runtime for JavaScript, so it can be on the servers or on the runtime. So if you don't have it installed, you should be. So it's just JavaScript on the command line. It's like what compile? Do you use any compiled languages? All right, so Java. So God bless you for being one of the people who like Java. Or if you, I don't know if you like it or not, but.
When I first started learning, yeah.
Yeah, so Node.js is like a JVM for JavaScript.
Okay, I got you.
So let's, all right, well, nobody left. So nobody need to go to the bathroom, restroom, let me know. Yes, if you go out these double doors, then you take a right. And then when you get to the other double doors, you take another right. And then you keep going down and you take another right. And then you go to the left. Now, I walked straight past it because it's an alcove, and I didn't see the men's restroom sign. So you have to take a right. The only left that you'll take is into the men's restroom. It's complicated, but you know, you're a computer programmer, so you should knock that out. Go. All right, so my calculation for when we're going to get started again is when this gentleman returns from the restroom. Because I had to give him directions. So while we're waiting on him, anybody, so raise your, I want to know what programming languages people use. Just raise your hand or just yell it out. What's that? Kotlin? So pretty. It's a pretty language, right? It's better than Scala. Please don't mention Scala. Swift? So I used to be an Apple engineer, and I got right on the beginning of Swift, and after 3.0, it seemed like it just kind of fell apart.
Right now I'm using, because I'm doing a React Native app, Swift, Kotlin, and React Native JavaScript.
Nice. Welcome to the fray. Maybe just switch to Flutter and knock it all out.
I mean, we have such a big application at this point. A little bit of tech debt.
So the software that powers your bank apps, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, on your phones now are all Flutter. That's where I worked. I converted all their applications to Flutter. So, other languages. C++. No, C++ is, so C is my favorite language. C++ was just a sugar version of C. I do object-oriented programming for work, but I am more functional. Haskell is very pretty to me. Yeah, I like Rust because I don't have to feel like I'm trapped in objects.
Okay, so I tampered with Go, and a lot of people like Go, like Rust.
I don't like Go.
Okay, never mind.
Go's concurrency model, I could get really, really low-level geeky on this, but Go's concurrency model doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't like that it eats everything that I have resource-wise just to run one time. So any Python developers? Right? Beautiful, beautiful language. It does no wrong in my eyes, and it can run just about everywhere. So any Rust? Yeah? PHP? So here's the thing about PHP. So whenever I worked at Amazon.com, I was on their acquisitions team, and we bought a company called BookSurge. That's actually where I met my wife. I fixed her computer. Well, she broke her computer, I should say. So all of their code was written in PHP. So the last time that I wrote PHP was in 2007. And then I get to Appwrite, and they're like, you want a job and stuff? I was like, yeah, sure, and I'll get a code base. I'm like, PHP? And then next thing you know, I write a complete Mongo driver and sockets from scratch using Swool, and I'm like, that's not that bad. So it really boils down to, I mean, just don't try to drive a screwdriver with a hammer. Use the right tool for the job. And that brings you, and that's one reason I also like Appwrite is because I can use whatever tool I want and not worry about, where it's going to live. So any other languages? We got PHP, JavaScript, Java. I'm so sorry. That's what I told myself whenever I worked at Amazon and I was writing Java every day.
But I also noticed that I have to say that every single time. Like,
It's like when you fall down a set of stairs and your arm's bent the other way and you're like, that's not that bad. So do you do cross JVM management through code, or do you let your DBAs take, or your DevOps do it? Yeah, so dangerous. So we got Java, JavaScript, C++. Thank you so much for that. Rust, Go, we've mentioned. What's that? No Rails? Is it dying? Ruby is also a very pretty language, although it's like JavaScript and sometimes it hates math. So I got my start in open source. So while we're waiting, I can give you, how many people have ever heard of prototype.js? Yeah, so John, and I'm going to speak funny about it, but John Rezick, who created jQuery, how many people have heard of jQuery? So the Sizzle engine that he released for jQuery, that's based off of Acme, which we wrote on prototype.js. We're the precursor to all of that. One of my very good friends, Christian, who was the founder, who was the first person to write prototype.js, he's the one that created the $sign function. So if you ever want to do a Google on that. Well, hey, I started in open source. It seems like I'm going to be ending in open source. So, how many people contribute to open source projects? There you go. There you go. Just yell out a favorite open source project that you have, Appwrite.
Matter.
Which one?
Matter.
Matter?
Yeah.
Like, I've never heard of Matter. What is Matter?
It's a networking protocol. It basically enables cross communication with IoT devices.
Is it kind of like RPC or just socket?
I'm not too sure.
WebSocket overheads?
I think I just contributed to the application layer.
Nice. Do you know how much overhead that it has? I'm asking for a friend.
I don't remember.
Okay. So any other open source projects, favorites? Oh, come on, I'm a talker. You guys got to talk back. I got 4 kids. They all talk back to me constantly. I'm not used to quiet. Makes me very nervous. 4 boys, too.
Where'd you send that guy?
What's that? That's what I told you. I told him the directions, and I told you how long it was going to take. So it ends up making the 5, 10 minute break. But if you go to the bathroom and you go out this door, you take a right. And you go through the next double doors and you take a right. And then you walk down and then you take another right. And then you take a left to get to the guy's bathroom. It's hidden in the alcove. No, I'm not. It's Google Mappable. I do like to give prizes away, so make sure that you're paying attention because I will ask trivia questions about what I talk about. This is a habit that I formed with also children, my kids. Do you know what time? What's that? 16, 14, 13, 5. Tired. So, and it goes to show you, this is the first time I've been away from them in a while. Usually my wife travels with me. But last night I was trying to fall asleep and I could not because it was so quiet. So I actually had to put music on to try to fall asleep. And then I woke up at 4 o'clock like, okay, we got to get to school. And I was like, oh, wait, I'm not there. Should I go check on him?
My room is next to the elevator, so I heard the elevator go up and down all night long.
Ding, ding.
I've learned it's not a relaxing sound.
I'm on the 50th floor. And when the elevator goes down, my ears pop. I love it. I used to be an Air Force guy, so I used to jump out of airplanes. So if y'all see me bending my knees a lot and stuff like that, I don't have any fluid left in my knees.
So you came out black.
What's that?
You came out black.
So I was Special Forces as a PJ. And so I did Lackland, then I went to Shepherd, Eglin. I got injured in Eglin. So I was skateboarding and I wrapped my arm around the coping and bent this elbow backwards, 3 pins, 4 screws later, and the Air Force is like, can't do that anymore. So, yeah, not that bad. I stood up like this and I was like, huh, and my arm went boop. And I was like, that's not normal. So, all right, everybody good? Let's get rolling. So we're going to go over various features real quick and all the different details of those features. Again, interrupt me for questions. I actually enjoy it. First off, user registration. I mean, do I really need to go over these things? This is pretty common knowledge, right? How many people have built more than 5 user authentication services, registration services, forms, backend code, any of that in their entire life? More than 5? More than 4? Put your hands up. Every one of you, I guarantee, has worked on a user authentication system at some point. Yes? It's horrible. It is. And then they do OAuth 2. And they have no idea what they're designing. They just, everybody does it differently. They're like, whatever. And so now we have to fight that as well. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I could do an entire day on nothing but OAuth 2 and the problems that I see. We use NoSQL database style, document style database, cloud storage. This was mislabeled on the slide. I goofed. Server functions in real time. Those are the core features. Just ignore NoSQL down. I was just trying to do the first 2. Copy and paste. Now, what? It didn't show my image. There was a QR code, but obviously Google Slides. If you guys will visit Appwrite, cloud.appwrite.io, you can get a free account right now. It's in beta. It's hosted. We're also going to keep the free thing going and being very generous with it. So sign up for an account. It'll make this a whole lot easier for you. I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And if you got any questions for signing up, oh, there it is. Sweet technology. That's because I had to dial in. So if you have any trouble signing up, let me know. Yeah. Once you get your account set up, we should be ready to roll. And everybody, please sign up because the founder will see the stats, and then he'll be like, "Wes did it."
If anyone needs any extra time throughout the workshop, like you can just pause it or just pause.
Yeah, I'm really just an AI life form. You just say, "Hey Wes, pause." So we kind of have a query language now, and we've talked about it. I've heard rumors about it, but not right offhand. It's been mentioned, but it's not on the radar.
What's the motivation for not doing SQL database?
Because our founder decided not to. And it's also easier. It's like, not SQL, I have a friend of mine, he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he's got some junior developers and stuff, and he writes straight SQL, and I write straight SQL for my own stuff. I have Postgres running on this machine to manage my personal life. And so I write stored functions, I do all the stuff. I even wrote a key value store in just pure SQL. And he said one thing is that SQL is a niche language now because there's so many ORMs. There's Drizzle, there's TypeORM, there's Prisma, there's Rails Active Record, it could go on, Diesel for Rust. It goes on for forever. And so why? And then you got Mongo out there, you got CouchDB, you got all these that they're just key value stores, like superpowers. So everybody good? Got your cloud accounts? Everybody? You sure? All right. If you need me to go back, or like I said, it's just appwrite.io. You can get there too. All right. Let's get down to it. We're going to create a new project, we're going to walk through the creation of a new project, but I'm actually going to short step it for you a bit so that we can get to it and get to the code side of it instead of doing a bunch of this. But this is what you could do if you wanted to start a project. So I have a template repository that I set up on my personal account. My GitHub name is Wess, W-E-S-S. And this template library that we've set up, I already said that. Okay. So the template repository that I set up, we'll go through that in just a minute. And then, so why doesn't it doesn't show me the next slides? Okay. So first off, everybody log into your cloud accounts. You can also install Appwrite locally. It's literally one line if you have Docker running on your machine, but I didn't want to dive into, hey, let's install Docker because there's a lot of laptops in here and that's a whole lot of smoke for them. So the processors will all start humming, all of us will start sweating, everybody will be rebooting, it's a whole thing.
It took 2 months to figure out why my Docker install would work on my desktop.
I pulled this M1 laptop out of the box right when it came out for work. This is my work laptop. The first thing I did was install Docker, and the first thing that it did was this hum came out of it. I'm like, I don't think they're supposed to have fans. And then I was like, it's got 64 gigs of RAM, but it says it's running at 200%. I don't, So 4 days later, I had it installed. So we're going to create a project. You're going to hit the Create Project button. If you guys see anything on our console, this is a very important thing for me. If you guys see anything on the console that looks wacky, that doesn't work, that doesn't feel easy enough, please tell me. I have a notebook and a pen up here. I will write it down because we love feedback as well. When we say we're community first, literally community first. Our investors hate us for that because we will always put our community first. So if you say, hey, this is a complicated thing, or this doesn't work like I want it to, or hey, this is a little cumbersome, I will write it down right now and it will go into, and we will take it into consideration. We will actually look at it. Again, you can go to our GitHub repository. You can look at all of our pull requests. And every Thursday we host a show on our Discord, and I call it Office Hours, where I talk through and with other members of the team, and we go through, we answer, it's an AMA every week. And we answer whatever questions that you have, or we help you through things, or we do tutorial type stuff, or our troubleshooting with the people who are guests. So join our Discord. It's actually pretty massive. And one of the funny things is people always goes, hey, what's your roadmap? And I say, our roadmap is right on GitHub and our pull requests. And so we'll do these things called Office Hours Exclusive. It's called Office Hours. Office Hours Exclusives. And everybody's so surprised by the features, and I'm like, it's the third pull request. Like, it's literally the third pull request. Guys, just go look at the pull request. Filing our issues. We actually have active people, every one of us are very active on our issues. So if you see an issue, file it. If you don't want to, if you just raise your hand and say, hey, this button sucks, I'll be like, cool, button sucks. And then I'll go file it for you. I don't pry. So back to it. Again, ADD. So first we create our project. You're going to give your project a name. Today we'll call it ChatWrite, because that's what I already named it. So ChatWrite or Chats a Lot, or the first version of this was Tessa Talk, because she came up to me and said, hey, write a chat room tutorial. So hit the create button. Now select your app, your web app, hit the plus button, enter a name for your host, localhost. please, for both of them. Because you're going to be running this locally, and how many people are super familiar with cores, cross-origin, right? It's painful, right? So we're going to skip all that. Google it. Oh.
Did you do
.netlify? You can. I know people have done it. I use, was it Versal for Wess.io. Oh, by the way, that's another thing. Oops, not what I wanted. Oh, you get to, like I tell, I also stream every Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do live programming on my Twitch, which is also Wess Cope. I should have added it up here. And you can just hang out with me while I'm creating a full-blown production app called Pluck, which is a photo sharing and social network type app. So it's twitch.tv/WessCope. And I'll tell you guys, like I tell them, you get 2 text increases. I like my font small, but you get 2. But this is my home page, Wess.io, is also powered by Appwrite. And it is an active terminal. Yeah, I haven't added it to my website yet, so thank you for reminding me what I forgot. All right. Which font do you need me to increase? Oh, that's because I'm not using it. I didn't mean to type in it. My command spacebar spotlight thing didn't pop up, and that's where my target was. All right, everybody create their project. Anybody have any issues creating their projects? Raise your hands if you're having a problem. Could it be that? What's that? You can name it anything that you want. I named mine ChatWrite, which is what the repository will be. So since it's Appwrite, ChatWrite, it was the whole thing. Try refreshing it. Oh, wait, just try to refresh.
Should I enter ID?
If you want to, it's optional. Hey, yeah, try to refresh. I think the Wi-Fi had slowed down real bad here. I think everybody's on it. So, what's that?
I just went straight to the console and it showed up.
There you go. Oh, y'all are just gonna. Oh, yeah. So deployment. Just like a C++ programmer. Can I just use Project X? Hey, what you guys name it doesn't matter. But you are going to reference it. We are going to use it. Where you deploy this is up to you. We're not going to get into the deployment side of it. You can go to Versal. You can go to Netlify. You can host it statically on GitHub pages. It doesn't really matter. But I'm not going to go into the core side of things. So I'm not the cross-origin stuff, that's the security elements like that. Like every single host name that you want Appwrite to run on, you enter into that box right there. And the reason that we did localhost is because everyone loves localhost, and we're going to be running this locally. So.
That's what you'd be typing in the web browser. It makes it less confusing.
So, and Tess and I ran through this, and I tried to do 127.0.0.1, and it was a fiasco. So we're dropping back to localhost. Now, if anybody's like me, where your host file, and if you know what your host file is, then you know what I'm talking about. My localhost wasn't localhost. I had to go back and remove it because I changed some things in my personal host file. All right, so everybody good? Problems, questions, concerns? Everybody got a project? Okay. Now, this is where we're going to switch over to the repository. Again, pause. Y'all don't have to do this. I'm going to walk you through using the GitHub template that I created so you can see the links, so you can see that. But we're going to actually clone a version of ChatWrite that is broken, okay? And I broke it on purpose just so we could go through and add the code to it for the workshop's sake. But what you're going to see here is the template that I created is the same one that ChatWrite is based on. So if you want to create a React app very quickly and get up and running, I'm going to show you how you could do that if you wanted to start from scratch. But I don't, what? Question? Okay. But what I didn't want to do is sit there and get you, it's a lot of code, a lot of UI code. Remember, Appwrite's pretty invisible, so most of what we're going to be talking about today is really not Appwrite. So I have to take my time on the Appwrite stuff because otherwise it'll never happen. But all I'm going to do now is walk you through, if you were to start a brand new project for Appwrite, how you could use this template that I've created to ease all of this. So you'll head over to github.com/wess/react-vite, which is also spelled wrong, -Appwrite. You click Use This Template. Give your repository a name, whatever you want to call it. So I'll give you all a second if you want to write the name down. At the end of this, I'll also have all the links so y'all can get them there. You're going to give your repository a name, chat right, what have you. And then you'll click the big giant Create Repository from Template at the bottom. It'll then create the repository based on this template. And then you can clone it from there. Oh, if I skip something or I do something too fast, raise your hand and say stop.
Can you stay on the last screen?
Hey, Tessa, are we making this available online after? Yeah. Okay. And yes, these slides will be available. This presentation will be available after. So I don't want you to do this. So you don't have to do this. I don't want you to do this. The reason is because the ChatWrite repository that we're going to use, I'm going to get you guys to fork it or clone it right off the bat. Doesn't matter. It's based on this, but I wanted y'all to have an idea of what it's based on because we're going to go through file, folder structure, and everything. So that way, if you decided after this session you wanted to go create something new or try it out on your own, you would have you could use this template without having any problems. Originally, I was going to get everybody to go through this, and then I realized it's a lot. And I don't know if y'all want to sit here and take time just writing UI React code. So I stubbed out all of the UI and stuff for you so that you wouldn't have to write so much boilerplate type code. But this is literally the boilerplate. But if you want to clone it, you're welcome to. I would just suggest not doing it right now. We are going to clone a repository that is ChatWrite. And again, it's intentionally missing files so that we could build those files together. Everybody good? All right. Don't do it. Don't do it. Once you had it cloned, once you pulled that down, you cd into your projects folder, you type npm install, and it'll go through and install the dependencies. Now, let's go ahead and head over to this URL. Boop. That's what I want you to download or clone. And make sure you remember where it's at. Now you kind of understand why I said maybe you want to name your project ChatWrite. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But it's strongly suggested. So everybody good? Got it? Give y'all a few more minutes. Yes. You can fork it, clone it, whatever you want to. This code, download the .zip file. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to give any of you guys admin rights to push any new code or anything like that. It's no offense to you whatsoever, but I don't know any of you people. And before GitHub changed their unique identifier or their user IDs to UUIDs, which is a long string, I was member 13 of GitHub. Which is why I have a 4-letter. Before that, I used Subversion and then CVS. And then upload and hope the dates matched. FTP. So, everybody's still cloning? If everybody, once you're done cloning, if you'll just raise your heads so I can see all your beautiful faces, then you can clone it, you can download the zip file. It's all good. So once you, whatever method of transportation you want to get the code from the website to your computer is complete, and you've got it all downloaded and unzipped or all the things, like I said, if you'll just look up so I want to make sure everybody has enough time. Everybody all good? Raise the hands of anybody who's not quite finished yet. I want to make sure. Okay. You're finished or not finished? Finished? Okay. Everybody's good. All right. Perfect. So, I'm going to take a pause right here to do some trivia. Now, I have prizes. I like giving away prizes. And some of the prizes we have today are really cool. First off, we got sunglasses for Appwrite. I've got charge batteries for your phones for Appwrite. And I got a grand prize, which is a Appwrite Fire Stick. So let's do one of the easier prizes first. Raise your hand if you can name me 3 OAuth providers.
Okay.
3.
GitHub. Ooh, GitLab.
Sunglasses don't fly.
Thank you.
All right, next question that we're going to do is name 3 services that are I'll make it easier. Name 2 services that are like Appwrite, not including Appwrite.
Firebase Superbase. You don't like either.
That's right. I've tried both. No, it's not that I don't like them. They're just not for me. All right. So last question I'll have for this trivia is before they switch to UUID, what was my GitHub user ID? 13? That's right. Oh, now it's challenge accepted, right? Watch your heads. Hey, you can have those since I hit you with them. That's pretty good though, right? All right. I'll have more. Those are the first row of prizes. So next up, now, whether it's VS Code, Vim like me, which I'm going to use VS Code for you guys so that y'all don't have to see me fight to exit Vim. I love Vim. Get out of my... Nobody badmouths Vim. As long as you're not an Emacs user, you can stay. So, paralyzed. There's always one in a crowd. So I'll be using VS Code. If you want to open that project now into VS Code, do that, please. And I'm going to go over some of these folder structures with you because they're very important. I'm going to actually get off the microphone, though, because it's weird to me, and actually come over here so I can see this with you guys. First off, let me preface this with saying this is my style. Remember, Appwrite fits into my style. You don't have to do it like this. You do it however you want to do it. You do you. So when you open up that project, you're going to see quite a ton of files there. Inside that source folder, SRC is source. If you C++, you know that. And so when you go into that folder, that SRC folder, you're going to see some files. Now I'm going to do this in reverse because we're going to start with main. So main is an entry point of your application. That's literally where it gets rendered. That's the first line of defense that we get. Now you can use main for setting up analytics, doing whatever you want to do, so on and so forth. I literally use it just to hand off to the app. Up next, you have providers. Providers are special components that I build that allow you to use hooks and React very shorthanded and lazily. Providers are accessible everywhere inside the application, and there's even one called form.tsx, which is, if you remember the wizards or the multi-page forms that you have to fill out, so you can wrap those components in that form provider, and it'll allow you to accumulate the data across multiple things so that you keep state. State is evil, manage it lightly. Pages. So our application's actually, Chatrite's actually using a router, and I did that for readability, not so much as the simplicity. But usually Pages is set up with folder file-based routing you can use, or React router, or what have you. Data. So data, I literally wrote a very simple key value store that's wrapped around memory if local storage is not available or not giving privilege, or local storage. This is what I use for settings. Now, with Appwrite, I could easily create a data store or a database that would allow, or a collection that would allow me to store and sync those across, but I wanted to save it just for your current browser. And also inside of data is your session, which is literally just an extension of models.session that's part of Appwrite because I like shorthand and I like pretty imports. Up next, we have components. There it is. Custom components that I've written because I also don't like writing things over and over again. And so I made them their own little thing. And then app. So the app is the main actual guts of the application. This is where your layouts are handled. This is where users, you can check for users. You can do everything inside of app. And app knows where to hand things off at. And so I like having that. Like I said, main. Some people will do this right in main. But I like having a folder with app because there's quite a few things that I do inside of that folder. And we'll go through all of this stuff. So again, raise your hand and interrupt me and ask questions, please. Yes? This is literally the app, the template that I showed you guys. I told you not to clone. This is what Chatright is based on, the repository that I'll get you to clone, or that you already downloaded. Sorry, it's based on the same thing. I write a lot of these demos. Like I said, I stream every Tuesdays and Thursdays on Twitch, doing a live coding session. I use the exact same thing. And because I use it all the time, I do it with hobby projects. I help a friend of mine who owns a comic book store. His website is owned, or his website is managed and built on top of the same. So it's kind of a proven structure for things that I do. And because of Appwrite, I really don't have much else to do. Now, this is where we're going to set up your project configuration. Let me just double check. Okay. Now, if you look in source providers API.tsx, now this guy, I'm going to switch over here. Yes, I'll increase it. All right, can you guys see that okay? That's huge. It's massive. If you can't see something, let me know. I'll give you, my viewers on Twitch will be very angry that I gave you guys more than 3 or more than 2 Zooms. But if you need more, I'll give you more because you're here. Everybody see that in the back? You guys see that back there? Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to take a minute to discuss the provider pattern. Before I worked at Appwrite, I was already doing this pattern. In Flutter, when you port your app over from Kotlin and all that React Native stuff, and you use Flutter, let me know. I have a boilerplate for that too that'll make your life a lot easier. So, again, if you can't hear me in the back, let me know. I actually talk pretty loud. The microphone's weird. So right here, this is a provider. Now, how many people are familiar with React, first off? Yes. Do you like it? Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be one of those.
Not here. I'm talking about React.
React. Good night, everybody. React is another tool, right? You don't hit a screw with the hammer. I want UI. I want reusable components. I want it in, and if you notice, functions. I don't use classes. So if you're an object-oriented programmer, cool. I just don't like state, and state scares me. Functional lends itself to not having state. Data moves through instead of holding. All right, that's a whole other session, sorry. So what a React hooks? That's what I was trying to ask. How many people have used hooks? Like it's literally use hook. Cool. You like it? Love it. Okay. So hooks provide a way for us to access things very quickly anywhere throughout the application, or as long as the provider is wrapped around that component. That's very important to know because, like I said, inside of the provider's folder, you'll see form.tsx, which won't be included. If you have a multi-page form, it spans across multiple pages and multiple tabs, what have you, like a settings page or an onboarding form, you would wrap form around it so that you could easily say, use form, set this, set this, set this. So that way you can accumulate the data across of it and it's short-lived. We don't want it to be long-lived. Now, if I want something like, boom, the Appwrite API, if I want something like this long-lived, I wrap my entire application in its provider, and everyone has access to this. Now, the benefit of that, as being I am a object-oriented programmer by trade, not by hobby, I can create things that lend itself to my style, which I would do this anyways. So first we got your project ID. It's actually in the repository. Please don't abuse my code. Tessa did it. We were going through this, and she literally started chatting, and all of a sudden I saw my messages coming up on my database, and she's like, oh, I didn't change the ID. And I was like, wow. So she forgot to hit save. So right here's your project. So if you go into your Appwrite console, you go to your project, you'll see a little magic button that says copy the ID. Copy that ID, go to providers or src/providers/api.tsx and replace mine that shouldn't be committed with yours. Let me know. I'll give y'all a couple minutes for that. What's that?
Just if you click next through, you'll get to the point where you can copy it.
You don't have to install Appwrite Cloud.appwrite.io.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just already importing.
Oh, it's going to error. Are you talking about the
config file? And I think it's in
Right here.
Well,
Oh, it's in main.
Good. Well, we'll get there. 1 second. Yeah, no, I forgot the step. You're good. No, not your bad. That was absolutely awesome because I completely forgot that step. Once y'all get that done, let me know. Everybody good? Got your IDs? Okay. So in the process of getting you to skip over cloning the template repository, I forgot to take this slide and make it also happen. We still have to do final prep. Inside of your project that you downloaded, ChatWrite, that's the command on the command line that so you would cd into your chat room and then type npm install. Sorry, I missed the dependency installs. So like I'm telling it in your terminal, just type npm. Yeah. This was for the slides, and I don't know if people have Yarn installed or not. Oh yeah, just ignore the deprecate. Remember that other slide where I said when you're maintaining your own thing, it says deprecated? Yeah, Node community is really good at having a whole lot of dependencies and deprecations. All right, that's going to run a whole bunch of stuff in your terminals and your magic lands of prompts. So let me know if you guys are done with that whenever it's finished. Yeah, npm should come with Node now. Yeah, so you're in your directory for say npm. Yeah, just hit enter and make sure it's there. So whenever you first download it and install it, it takes it a second. It'll instantiate a bunch of stuff. Now type npm install. Are you in the directory of your project?
No.
All right, cd into your project's directory. Or you could use the terminal built into your editor.
Okay.
Escape tilde. Control tilde. There it is. Type bash and hit enter, B-A-S-H. Cool. Now type npm install.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There are many years that I didn't have window, like any UI at all. It was all terminal based. All right, everybody got all their dependencies installed? Yeah, you want me to just come help you? Are you in VS Code? All right, you're on a Mac. Inside of VS Code? Oh, if you use VS Code, you can hit Control tilde, whatever you want to call it, and a magical prompt will pop up at the bottom that's right in your folder. You don't even have to cd, open terminal, or anything. It actually has a built-in terminal. Inside of that terminal, you're going to type npm space install and hit enter. Boom! And you're now my gauge of whenever everybody's finished. So when you're done, just wave to me. What's wrong? So it's going to show errors, and because VS Code's, that's a good thing to bring up. If you do use VS Code and Node and npm, you can't trust the red lines in VS Code all the time, because it redlines deprecations, it redlines paths that npm sees that VS Code does not. It's a whole thing. Vim doesn't do this, so if you guys have 4 years of your life that you can spare, you can learn Vim. Yes. Yeah, Vader on the back, and she's over here asking questions. I'm going to start breathing heavy in a minute. NPM? install. Enter. Boom. You gotta stop messing with me. She gotta pay attention. It's not that funny. It's not that funny. Anybody who has a touch bar on their laptop, we're gonna have you.
I was like, how do I get
it there?
on my computer? I was like, I like your code stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I don't like oop. You okay? By the way, I'm a massive Star Wars fan.
Dude, you are? Oh, yeah.
Mandalorian. Oh my gosh. Right? Space Western.
Were you a fan?
Oh yeah. I cosplay as him. I got a full. I made a full suit. Yeah, and Batman. I'm a Batman fanatic. Tomorrow I'll wear my shoes. I have custom made Batman shoes.
So you gotta
Air Force
get to
One.
one of your Twitch streams just wearing the man.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do?
I have all my Batman stuff. I do urethane for hobby, so slosh casting. Man, why are you logging in? Are you on a code space?
No, that's my.
Why are you on local logging in? Dude, close this. Command Q. Just Command Q. We're just gonna do something. All right. Now, Command Spacebar. You know why he's having these problems? It's because he's using light mode.
Yeah.
Type in terminal. All right. Now CD into the chatting. Now type npm install. It looks like you already did it. So then just open it, then you're all set. I don't know why you entered a password. Why are you putting passwords in?
Because I was trying to open it.
Use coins. Like
Yeah, I'm actually a contributor.
Yeah, because I was like,
The-
also, I forget the short code to open it.
Open code. Code period. Space period.
You know, I try that, and it's not going to work.
That's because your keyboard's coming off. It needs some help. Just drag. Oh, now you're gonna mess with his keyboard. Hey, you can also grab the folder and drag it on top of it. Anybody else need any help? Everybody good? All right, we're at a 20-minute mark. Anybody need to take a break? Y'all want me to keep going? Like 5 minutes? If you guys use the restroom, I'll give you 15. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break right here. That way everybody can make sure that they got npm installed. I can walk around and help. I'm going to make Tessa do the same. 5-minute break. Yep.
I'm right now currently on that Texas A&M right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking classes and usually using this part in order to, well, that part I'm using for application development. This part I'm using for my own entrepreneurial interest. How do I understand the necessary that I have to do it in order to get better. But is there some type of like, okay, this would be the path that I'm trying to get in order to as far as mobile development?
Yeah, I get this. Okay. Being that I'm actually at 18 programming languages now. So what I've learned to do is, what's the most common thing that you write in code? Besides Hello World. So Hello World to me is the worst way to learn how to write it.
I'm dead. Screw free cocaine.
Because Hello World, it gives you this false sense of you know what's going on. Just printing something to the screen is not a viable thing. What I do whenever I learn a language, so Rust. So I've been writing Rust, I'm a contributor to Rust. And so when I started learning the language and everything like that, I'm a weird bird. I like to read how compilers work and stuff like that. This is just my thing. But read the why first. If you want, why was Rust made? Why was Rust created? So I go read the why, and it'll give you idea into the creator's mindset of what the language is for. So you can't do, if you're using Rust, it's for low-level web. It's not really for much front end yet. It's kind of getting there. But if you read what they wrote it for, it was for networking. It was for low-level. It was, you know why it's called Rust?
No.
Lives on metal. Your processor, yeah, and RAM. And so once you process that, then you'll start like, hey, do I need to learn this? That's the biggest question. I learn languages because it's just my hobby, and I write my own languages, and it's kind of a sickness, really. But I love programming language. I love that. To me, it's artwork. Somebody has to come up with a story, has to create the words and story, and then you get to go and continue that story with that language. I know it sounds really philosophical and weird, but I always find out the why. So there's a language out called Blaze, and they just released it, and a buddy of mine he's a contributor to that and helping the building. He goes, hey, will you try it? And I went back and read the story. I'm like, no, there's no point to this language. There's not. Lua does the same thing and all that. So first find out the reason, why do you want to learn it? Why do you want to get started in it? And then what is something that's very common? So Appwrite lends itself, and I'm not just doing a pitch, by the way. I'm literally a community member who got hired because I was a community member. But Appwrite lends itself to give you the ability to write applications. So do you want to write an iPhone app? Do you want to write an Android app? Do you want to write a web app? I mean, find that first, that target. And then lock that target in and say, okay, I want to do a web app. Now I want to do so what's the most common type of web app to learn on? To-do list, right? A to-do list is the simplest thing in the world. You enter in something, you hit save, and then you hit a checkbox and you update its state. So that's 3 things. The UI is always the biggest piece, but you can go download UI component libraries. That's why I use Chakra. I don't want to. If I sat there and wrote my own UI and CSS code all day long, I would never do it again.
I'm more of a material.
Material's nice.
I use Chakra.
Material's really nice. I don't like its flipping of colors. It blinks real bad. Chakra's the only one I find that doesn't blink. But when find that target, hit that target. When I say that, so mobile app. Okay, I want to run on Android. I want to run on iPhone. I only want to run on iPhone. Learn Swift. I only want on Android. Learn Kotlin. If you've done Java, you can use Java. If you already know that, though, why would you use Java if you were trying to advance or trying to move forward? So I would suggest Flutter. I was an Apple engineer, man, for 8 years. And Swift started falling apart. And that's my opinion on it. But Flutter, Dart is a very nice language. It's very simple.
So what was that other one you said, Dart?
Flutter is a framework that sits on top of the language D-A-R-T, Dart.
Okay,
and it looks a lot like, it's got a lot of inspirations from various languages too. So. But like I said, to me, I never tell people to do Hello World. I always say, do a to-do list. And then see, the reason that, and like I said, it's not a sales pitch. I'm literally into Appwrite as a community member too, is now you've wrote this Flutter application that's a to-do list and it's saving to a local database, or it's just saving into a text file. Right, it's just a CRUD app. And the next thing you do is drop in our SDK. You don't have to write any backend services, and then learn how to make network requests. See what I'm saying? Yeah. And then if you want to go further and learn the back end of it, great. Because guess what you can write on the server side? Dart.